All right, welcome back to the podcast, guys. It is Beer 30. All right, so a super yacht operator in Australia took a $300,000 job. It sounded like easy money. Within days, there was one diver dead, another vanished, and they were pulling the police were pulling 50 kilos of cocaine out of the water. So it's a pretty unbelievable story, and it's leading to a wider issue that they're having with drug smuggling marine-wise. And I'm going to tell you how this happened. So this is the true story of James Blake Blee, two Brazilian divers, and a cocaine smuggling operation that went wrong in Newcastle, Australia. Everything here comes from court records and major news outlets, and I'm just telling it as it happened. All right, the setup. So James Blee, a 64-year-old Queensland superyacht operator, COVID wiped out most of his income in 2020 and 2021. I don't know if you know anything about how Australia dealt with the pandemic, but they locked down very hard. No one was allowed to enter or leave the country without like a month-long quarantine and stuff like that. So I'm sure it hurt their tourism business, greatly, and I'm sure that's how this guy was earning most of his money. He later told police that he took the job out of greed and stupidity. So he had been in Indonesia, and I believe this is 22 or 23. And I think it was 2022. He was in Indonesia on holiday, and he was approached by the offer of a lifetime here, 300 grand, to help two divers enter Australia. And he admits he knew it was dodgy work and drugs were probably involved. All those guys, like I said, Australia was hurt really bad, especially in the tourism industry from COVID. So you can imagine, you've lost everything. You don't have any money, and someone comes up and is going to make all your problems go away with 300 grand for easy work. So, but that's a red flag. Should have known it was coming. So yeah, it was 2022. So late April of 2022, Blee arranges for two Brazilian divers, that's Bruno Borges Martins and Johnny Fernandez da Silva, to be brought into Australia illegally. So he helps smuggle them into Darwin. So he goes and buys them rebreather gear, dive gear, and plans to meet them again on the East Coast. So for those who are familiar with rebreathers it's like dive gear. I'm no expert on it. I've never used it, but it's like dive gear, but it's like a closed loop system. So like normally when you're scuba diving, you have, when you exhale, the air just goes out into the water and bubbles up. Well, for what they were going to do, they didn't want the bubbles because they would be noticed, because I'll explain how this happens in a minute. So they were using rebreather gear. And so it's a closed loop system. So when you exhale, the air goes into a system where the carbon dioxide is scrubbed and they add a little oxygen. And then there you go. You're rebreathing the same air. It's a pretty complicated system. I don't know how to use it. But apparently these guys didn't know how to use rebreathers either. They were not trained in it. Blee was told that they were trained, but they weren't. Well, another problem is that these two Brazilians didn't speak English, and he didn't speak Portuguese. So they were communicating via app on a phone, just like texting with Google Translate type thing. So that's how they were getting along. So, the idea of two untrained divers handling them around a cargo ship, those rebreathers on a cargo ship, is pretty crazy. So, a month later, May 2022, a cargo ship, the 34,000-ton Areti, arrives in Newcastle from Argentina. Hidden on its hull are 108 kilograms of cocaine, worth roughly $30 million. So, 108 kilograms, it'd be around 250 pounds of cocaine. So the way they were attached is it's a new thing that's happened in the last half decade. It's called parasite smuggling. So what they do is they can attach it several different ways. Sometimes it's in panels that can be removed off the boats, and a lot of times it's just magnets. They build these little torpedo type things that have magnets in them, and all the hulls on these boats are steel, right? So they just attach these magnets to the hull. They know where they are. They know the boat. So that's the thing. It's like, so when the boat was in Argentina, so the cargo ship had probably no idea I'm sure they had no idea that the drugs were attached to the hull of this boat. But it's easy to see, they're just looking at the boat manifest, saying, okay, this boat's going to from Argentina. Its next stop is Australia. We want to get some drugs to Australia. It's pretty easy to do. You just go in at night with your rebreather, and you just put this thing on the boat, and you're with a couple guys go place all the drugs on the boat. Nobody even notices. It would be a pretty easy thing to do. And then when you just keep track, you can track a boat across the ocean these days, AIS. So you can track a cargo vessel anywhere in the world. And so they know when it's going to arrive to the port in Australia, and then they know when it's due to leave the port in Australia. So then those guys were ready for it. And so it's a real big thing now, and it's a pretty efficient way to do things and very little risk, right? You might lose your product if it gets found, but like the odds of it getting found and all that are pretty low. And then, a lot of these ports where you are, it's silty water, right? Okay, great. If you're in the Bahamas and it's clear water, it's easy to just kind of look under and you can see somebody under the boat, or you can see maybe something attached to the side of the boat. But in most of these ports, it's pretty murky water. You're not going to be able to see it. So like finding this stuff. So basically every cargo ship coming in, if you wanted to stop this, you'd have to have divers inspect every cargo ship as it enters port to swim the thing and look for parasite torpedoes on the side of the boat. So not an easy thing to do. Disaster strikes. Okay, so during the dive, Voorhees loses consciousness, likely a rebreather malfunction or CO2 buildup. The next morning, workers at the port find a diver's body floating in the water with 54 kilos of cocaine bricks with him. So imagine you find a diver in the water with 100 pounds, 120 pounds, 125 pounds of cocaine. It'd be pretty shocking. So they begin a massive search for a second diver, that'd be De Silva, and they can't find him. He's missing. He's presumed dead or fled with the remaining half of the cocaine. And later on, they think that he escaped with the cocaine. They're not 100% sure, but they think they saw a surge in the amount of cocaine coming in that area, that he did flee properly, got away, and got the cocaine to wherever it was supposed to go, whoever was handling the drugs. Blee had nothing to do with handling the drugs. He was just getting those. He was supposed to help get those people in illegally. That was his main thing, is getting them into illegally and then buying the equipment they needed. So this is where everything blew up. You had the body, the cocaine. It's like something out of Narcos at sea. So then within days, Blee tries to flee to Singapore, and he's arrested at the Cairns airport trying to leave. And so he's busted, right? So he does cooperate with police. He admits to coordinating the logistics and smuggling the men in. And he admits that if the kid hadn't died, we wouldn't be here. Nobody would have known. It was a fairly sophisticated, efficient way of doing what they're doing. So he's right. If the kid hadn't died, that was kind of stupid, not having the guy trained in rebreathers. If he hadn't have died for probably improper use of the equipment, nobody would have known. They would have gotten away. And, that's what I always, I used to be a commercial pilot, not a corporate pilot. I did fly commercial too. I flew for an airline for a year. I prefer corporate. And I always joked that if I ever lost my flight medical, I'd just, go do a couple trips for a cartel in an airplane, and there you go. But I was a joke, right? And then when I lost my flight medical, I obviously didn't do that. And it wouldn't be because, I think I would say you have a pretty high percentage of getting away with doing stuff like that. I don't know how many drugs they catch coming across borders and stuff like that, but it's got to be way less than 10% is what they catch. I don't know. I would guess just a few percent is what they catch actually coming in across borders and doing stuff like that. What I would be more afraid of is the cartels themselves. If I help them get $30 million of cocaine across the border, and I'm like, all right, I want my $300,000 and I'll see you later. They're like, no. You work for us now. They're not going to let you go. So that would be the thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to go to jail either. I don't want to do anything illegal like that. But I'd be more afraid of the cartels not letting me go than actual jail time. Although I wouldn't want to go to jail either. So I wouldn't do either one. The thought of being, it was awful. He said it didn't help that they didn't speak English, and he thought they were trained in all those equipment. So it's pretty amazing. It's when someone waves that much money around and you're desperate, you know, it's a slippery slope. I don't know what you do, but yeah. All right, so the bigger picture about parasite smuggling is that, you know, it's a growing trend. You know, in 2020, there was 13 incidents coming from Brazil. I believe this is all just to Australia and New Zealand. There were 13 incidents going from Argentina to Brazil, or Brazil to Australia. In 2021, there were 19. 2022, they caught 26. And you know, 2023, there were more. They seized over 5 tons in the first few months. So it's a growing. You know, that's just the ones they're catching, right? How many are getting away with it? Like I said, I mean, that maybe less than 10% that actually get caught. And so if, you know, if they caught 5 tons of it doing it, I mean, geez, then that means there's probably, you know, 50 tons that got away, you know? So, and it's not just in Australia and all that, it's nationwide. There's Norway, New Zealand, Italy, the same method. That's how they're getting a lot of these drugs around. Because think about it, I mean, it's a very low risk way to do things. Police say it's efficient, avoids corruption, it's cheap. The ports are hard to police. You know, ports are wide open. If somebody dives under your ship at night, who's going to see them? That's the scary part. All right, so the fallout from all this, Blee was sentenced to, in 2024, November of 2024, Blee was sentenced to 11 years in prison, 7 years without parole, but he got credit for time already served, so he's actually available for parole in 2029. The judge called it a sad and misconceived gamble. There's no evidence that Blee sourced the drugs or did anything with the drugs. He just simply facilitated their retrieval. There's no instance, I mean, he didn't specifically know there were drugs involved, but he knew there were drugs involved. I mean, it still counts, right? You know, as captains, you know, we're responsible for our boat. Somebody does something bad on your boat, you're still responsible for it. You know, I'm sad to say. So, you know, lessons learned, there's no such thing as easy money. Vet anybody that works for you. Never agree to work or meet under unusual secrecy. You know, once you're complicit, even peripherally, you're in legally. I mean, just like Blee, he didn't specifically know what was going on, but he knew something was going on, and he got 11 years in prison for it. So, you know, if someone offered me 300 grand to help out with a dive, I think I would laugh and say, 300 grand for a dive? No thanks. I don't want anything to do with that. See you later, buddy. So, you know, from struggling yacht broker, you know, super yacht guy to 11-year prison sentence. I mean, you can see how you could fall into that trap. That'd be a scary thing to do. So, what do you think? Would you have taken the money and the risk? Because I mean, if he just hadn't been one mistake, he would have got away with it. Would you have taken the risk? What do you think? Leave me a comment down below. And also leave me a comment. Do you like this more? I mean, I'm still gonna do my normal YouTube podcasts. You know, talking about like stuff that I'm doing and all, you know, what's going on with sailing Doodles and the marine industry and all that. But, you know, I want to see if you like these kind of news segments as well, a little shorter news clips, giving you information behind that. So, and if there's any stories you want me to cover, let me know. It takes me a while. I had to research this quite a bit today and find all the footage and do all that. So if you're enjoying the program, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's a free way to show that you're supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. I'm not sure what the percentage of subscribers is. I haven't looked, but on my other channel, it's only 50% of my viewers are actually subscribed to the channel. So it really helped me out if you do that. And of course, if you'd like early access to these videos and you want to have your questions answered in podcasts, or you just want to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/sailingdoodles, or go to sailingdoodles.podia.com. And you can help support the channel for only a few dollars a month. It really keeps me motivated to keep doing stuff like this. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.